Hello and welcome to my video on how to tack up your horse. Ready? Good grooming is essential to the health of your horse. You'll want to keep his coat in a beautiful bloom, as well as make yourself aware of any problems such as scrapes or cuts. These are the essentials of a simple grooming kit. This is a rubber curry comb that will scrape off heavy mud that's stuck in their coat or something like that. This is a dandy brush, which is kind of falls after this one to take off more heavy dirt. This one is what I call a finishing brush, and I probably use this brush more than any other brush. It's very fine and very soft, and it'll take off fine dirt and dust. This is a face brush or a finishing brush. It also has very, very soft bristles for the face, and so I use it only on the face. This is a mane comb that I use. I do not use this on the tail. You'll want to leave, I don't brush the tail very often because it'll pull all the hairs out and then you won't have a nice long tail. When I do their tail, I use a human hairbrush. So this is the brush that I use for that. And when I do the mane and tail, I also put on a conditioner, a detangler. This one is my favorite one. It's called Cowboy Magic, and it softens the hair and makes it easy to comb out. This is a hoof pick, obviously, to clean out the horse's feet. So it's got a little pick on this end, and the brush is to brush off debris when you're cleaning out the foot. I'm going to demonstrate how to use this one in just a few minutes. Underneath, these tools are laying on what's called a cactus cloth. So when you've finished with your finishing brush, you can wipe your horse's coat off with this, and it will bring out the oils in the coat and make it shine beautifully. The final thing that I put on is fly spray. In this time of year, the flies are very, very annoying, and horses are very sensitive to flies, and if you spray them just a little bit before you ride, it'll let them concentrate on the training rather than fighting flies the whole time. So now let's go ahead and do some grooming on the horse. But I'm going to just show you really quickly using this finishing brush. You just go over all the body, obviously going in the same direction as the hair is going, all the way down to the feet to make sure you get all the dust and dirt off the legs. And then you just follow along here, particularly important underneath the saddles. And you'll notice that I always have my extra hand on the horse. So that's just a little steadying thing, so the horse always knows kind of where I am. It's always a safety habit, so if he would spook, I could get out of the way in time and not get knocked over. So I always make sure you do the girth area here, underneath the belly, always going in the same way as the hair, all the way down on the legs. Okay, and obviously you would do that on both sides, and then your horse is groomed and ready to ride. I'm going to show you how to clean out your horse's feet. Before and after you ride, every single time you should clean your horse's feet out so that they don't have any rocks, or to make sure they're not bruised or have any stuff stuck in them. So he obviously knows how to pick his foot up. So when you clean their foot, you want to support it like this with your hand. And then you always want to go from back to front with your pick to pick out anything, because this little triangle right here is called a frog. It's very sensitive and it's easy to injure, so you want to make sure that you don't hurt it or make it sore, because it will make your horse lame. So when you clean your horse's feet out, they should look something like that, and then you of course do all 4 feet. In fly season, I always put some fly spray on my horses just because it makes them more comfortable during riding, and it lets them concentrate on training rather than fighting flies. And you just put it all over them. I'm going to go around and put it on the other side. Make sure you get their legs. Okay? So first let's talk about saddle pads. There are a lot of different kinds of saddle pads. I'm going to show you now some various types of saddle pads. The wind noise was very bad on this video, so I was going to just voice over it so you can actually hear what I'm saying. So this is an all-purpose pad. It fits an all-purpose saddle. It's more round in front, and it's a little bit shorter vertically. It's used for jumping with an all-purpose saddle, and my all-purpose saddle is out on loan, so I didn't have one to show you. The next pad that I wanted to show you was a dressage pad. It's larger, it's longer, and the front is straighter. And it is it's used. We're going to use this pad on Maverick today, so I'll show you all how to work the keepers and all that. The underside of this pad is just a thick pad. Um, and the nice thing about this is it's washable. So if your horse gets super sweaty during training, you can hang it up to dry, or you can throw it in the washing machine and let it dry, and it's ready to go for the next ride. And the last pad that I'm going to show you is this fleece half pad. Not all horses need one, but it's a little bit of extra protection for the horse's back. And it's obviously more comfortable for the rider. It's very thick sheepskin. And reason it's called half pad is because it only goes halfway down the horse's back. Under it fits should fit right under the saddle. So saddle fitters will tell you that if the saddle is properly fitted, no extra pad is needed. And that's true, but this is just a personal preference for me. I just like using a half pad just for that little bit of extra comfort. This is just a personal preference, and I'll show you how to hook all this up with the keepers and everything once we get it on. So I want to show you a couple of different types of saddles. This is a very old, this is called a close contact. Now I want to show you some different types of saddles. This is called a close contact saddle or a forward seat saddle. It's used primarily for jumping. The flap is very forward over the horse's shoulder, and that's because the position of a jumper rider, the center of gravity moves very far forward, and so this saddle allows you to get that far forward and give the horse some freedom in his hind end to push over that jump. The seat is very flat, and the reason it's called close contact is because these flaps are thin and they're very close to the horse. These are the billets. There's three. You use the first one and the third one. The middle one is for emergencies in case one of the others breaks, and it uses a long girth. It has a very small knee pad, and then the girth is a long girth. There's girths come in lengths to fit whatever size horse you may have, and it fits on those billets, and it attaches and goes all the way around the horse's belly to the other side, and then that's what holds the saddle on the horse. So these are short billets, and they require this very long girth. So these come in various lengths depending on how large your horse is. And the next saddle that I want to show you is a dressage saddle, and this is my show saddle. This is the dressage saddle has a much deeper seat, and that's because the dressage riders sit up a little bit straighter and a little bit. They don't have to go forward like a jumper rider does, so this keeps you in a more upright position. A little bit bigger knee pad here. And then I want to talk to you just a little bit about the parts of the saddle that we talk about. So these are the billets, and these are called V billets. And this means that this saddle would use a short girth, and that keeps that girth out from under your horse, under your leg, so you have a better feel on your horse. So the back part of the saddle here is called a cantle, and the front part is called a pommel. And then these are called the panels. And there's this outer panel is where your leg touches, and the inner panel is what touches your horse's side, and the billets go in between those panels, and then that knee pad there. So this is the stirrup leather, and that's what holds the stirrups to the saddle, and then that's the stirrup itself where your foot rests. This is a custom saddle that I had made for Maverick, and it just has a little bit wider, and it has a little bit of it has some features that not all dressage saddles have, but this particular one, it's made in England, and it's a wool stuffed saddle, so it can be fitted to it's right now fitted specifically to Maverick, but it could be fitted to another horse with a back similar to his. So you'll notice that this channel is very wide, and that's because Maverick has a really kind of a wide back, and those panels are wool stuffed, as I said, so they can be they can be restuffed as needed if when they get flattened out. And I had most of the time these side panels are leather, but because he's a little bit sensitive, I had those made from wool as well, and those can be replaced as they wear out also. And it just this just provides him a little bit extra comfort and fit and keeps his back in good shape. That wide gullet also lets a little bit of airflow go under the saddle and it's just a little bit cooler. So we're going to put this saddle on Maverick in just a minute, and then we'll show you how all that works. Horses wear while they're being ridden. The first part is we're going to talk about is leg protection. There are lots and lots of kinds of leg wraps and boots and protective gear that can go on a horse's leg for protection. So a horse in training is an athlete, and athletes need their ligaments and tendons and muscles protected. And these are just a couple that I prefer to use. I prefer the old-fashioned, just plain old polo wraps. And a lot of riders today don't like them because they're harder to put on and they take a little bit more time. If you don't get them put on correctly, they will slide down. So this is just my preference. And if I'm going to show you also a different kind of boot that's a little bit easier to put on. But let's put one of these on just so you can get an idea how this works. So you want to start with the flat end toward your body. Go behind the leg. Wrap this up and tuck it in so that there's no wrinkles. There can be no wrinkles or bumps, buckles in the bandage. So then you're going to just simply go around keeping it quite tight as you go. And then you're going to fold this down, tuck it under, and this goes all the way down around the fetlock, which is this part, and then back up again. So you're wrapping this little flap here, and that's what keeps your polo wrap in place from sliding down. So this obviously is not a great option for jumpers because they need a little bit more protection with leather on their legs. But for dressage and any kind of flat work, I prefer polo wraps. And you should come out so that your Velcro is on the outside of your horse's leg and the smooth part is on the inside of their leg. So that is a properly applied polo wrap. The boot that we're going to show you this is a dressage boot, and it has fleece on the inside, but it's leather on this side and it attaches with Velcro, making it much simpler to put on. So let's put that one on. The same idea, this part goes down around this fetlock and the flat part goes between the cannon bone and that part. Then it meets here, and this is here. And again, you always want these on the outside of your horse's leg and this on the inside of your horse's leg. So this may have to be readjusted if it's not quite tight enough, like that. But those are obviously much faster to put on. Again, these are not for jumpers. Jumpers use open front so that when their horse jumps, their legs are open and free to move here. So that's a dressage boot. The last boot that we're going to talk about that I personally use is called a bell boot. And this boot is more protection for the hoof than it is for the tendons here. So this boot goes around their hoof like this. And what it does is protect this part of their hoof. If some horses overstride and they'll catch their bulb of their foot with their hind foot, and it'll cut this bulb of their foot. And it's a very tricky part to heal, and it's a very nasty cut. So we try to avoid that. If you have a horse that overreaches, they need to wear a bell boot. And this goes all the way down to the ground, and it moves around their foot like that. You again always want the flaps going forward, but that's a bell boot. And so I put and these are only worn on the front feet. So I have my assistant Jace here to help me show these bridles, the types of parts of the bridle. This is called the crown piece, and it goes behind the horse's ears. The brow band goes around his forehead. That just keeps it in place. And then there are two sets of cheek pieces on either side that hold the bit to the bridle. And then that nose band, or the cavison, is what that's called, and that's a way that it helps keep the bit steady in the horse's mouth, and that's a flash attachment to it, and we're going to see how that works in just a little bit on Maverick. Then the reins are the lines of communication between the horse's mouth and the rider's hands. There's lots of different types of reins and different materials. And then the bit is the metal part that sits in the horse's mouth. There are literally hundreds of kinds of bits, and you just have to pick the one that you find that works the best for your horse in the particular discipline that you ride. And then I want to show you a couple more kinds of bridles that I brought out. I have my other horse, my Warm Bloods bridle here, and it has a little bit different type of bit on it, and it's a little bit larger bit because he's bigger. And the I like it does not have a flash attachment on the cavison. The reins are leather, and it has a padded crown piece, which I like, which gives him it's a little more comfortable for him to wear. So that's his bridle. And then the next bridle I wanted to show you is called a double bridle, and this is an advanced dressage bridle. These have to be worn by show horses beyond at fourth level and beyond. So it has two sets of reins and two bits, and the bit, this is a curb bit, and then the snaffle bit sits behind it. And contrary to popular belief, this is a very gentle bridle. There's nothing abusive or about this bridle. By the time the horse gets to where they wear a double bridle, they are so well trained that they receive such subtle cues for whatever movement they're doing. They know which bit means what and which rein means what. So it's a very gentle bridle. And then the last thing that I brought out was my bitless bridle. And Maverick, the horse that we're using today, actually prefers a bitless bridle. And this bridle operates more on leverage than it does obviously, it does not have a bit. So there's some straps that go underneath his chin, and that pressure on his chin is how this bridle works. So he will feel, instead of feeling a bit in his mouth, he would feel a little bit of pressure underneath his chin, and it would touch on that bone that's right underneath their chin like that. It's a gentle bridle, and Maverick likes it. He's a very easy horse, and he doesn't necessarily need a bit, and so I like to use that one on him. Be ready to put the saddle and bridle on. So the first thing we're going to do is put on the saddle pad, and you just want to do this gently, and you put it on with your keepers toward the front. So you're going to put it like that, and you're going to set it quite a bit forward from where it's actually going to be under the saddle. So you can always gauge your horse's shoulder is here. So if you set this and then push it back just a little bit, it's going to sit right where your shoulder meets there. And that way, when you slide that back, it pushes the hair all in the right direction, because it's uncomfortable if their hair gets pushed the wrong direction. So that's the pad. And now we're going to add the half pad. And it's the same way. It just goes right on top of the saddle pad. Like that. You want to make sure that these keepers are, there's no wrinkles or puzzles under there. So you're going to do that on both sides. And now we're ready to put on the saddle. And so the saddle is, and these are English saddles, and they're not nearly as heavy as, let's say, a Western saddle, but you still don't want to just slam it up on the horse's back. So I take it and put my hand under this panel here, and then just gently lift it up here and let it settle down on the horse's back. And you want to do some little adjustments here so that it's comfortable and straight. And optimally, when your saddle is fit correctly, this should be flat where your bum goes. This should be a straight line, not down this way or not this way, but straight. Okay. And now I'm going to go on the other side, and you don't have to go on the other side, Cash. And then the best thing that I do is if you leave pushing down with all part of their backbone right here. That's really uncomfortable. I feel like wearing a little, you have a space there. So I should be able to fit all four of my fingers in that space. So here, and that makes it makes the horse, it's cooler, and it makes a little bit of airflow be able to get under the saddle. So now let's put all of our pads up. So we're going to take these Velcro tabs. There's no wrinkles in it. They go underneath the billet strap like this. Just a half pad. They just attach those that way. They attach just like that. And the purpose of these is just to keep the saddle and the pads in place underneath the saddle. And this one, this keeper right here, your billet straps go through there. And again, it just helps in keeping everything in the proper location. So I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. You'll notice that I always keep my stirrups run up. That's what this means, is run up and just tucked in right so that it's out of my way while I'm putting all the other things on. And so my saddle got a little bit off on the other side. So now we are ready to put the girth on. And I always start on the right side of the horse and then buckle the left side last. So I had a British rider that I worked with some who does things exactly the opposite. So I'm guessing that there's no 100% perfect way to do this. This is just my way. Horses are creatures of habit, so I do the same thing the same way every single time. So I'm going to start on the right side. This goes through this little slot. And I'm just going to put it on really long right now. Here. Maybe the second hole on both sides. Okay. Then we're going to go around to the other side. You always want to face the rear of your horse while you're doing your girth up. If you stand like this and your horse spooks, he's going to knock you down. Standing like this with your right leg a little bit back, if he spooks at you, you have a little bit of chance to step out of the way. So just reach under. And it's basically the same thing. You just put it through these holes. I always do my girth really gradually because it's more comfortable and less intrusive for the horse. So remember, I had it on the second hole on the other side. So now I got it on the second hole here. I always run my hand down through here to make sure that there's no hair or wrinkles in their skin. That's super uncomfortable. If you want to get bucked off, put your girth on wrong and you will. And so, you're in the picture, baby. So, now I'm going to go to the other side of the little girth. Just tighten it so that now the horse and ride. Keepers like that. here. And these may not necessarily be in the same holes on both billets. There's a little bit more leather here, so it may be a little bit longer here and a little bit shorter here, and that's fine. So now I would probably leave this just like it is for right now, and then I'll probably tighten it one more time before I mounted the horse. So we're going to leave that for now. And now we're ready to put on the bridle. We've got the saddle on, and now we're going to put the bridle on. And to put the bridle on, you need to have this halter off his head. If your horse is in cross ties, a line that comes into each side here, you can let that halter down in those. But for what we're doing today, I'm just going to unbuckle it and let it slide off of his nose and then hook it back around his neck. So it's just a safety precaution so that you still have a little bit of control over it. And now we're ready to put his bridle on. The easiest way to do this is to teach your horse to lower his head. I have a very tall horse that's pretty difficult if I didn't have to do this. And so you can just reach across like this through here. You see him lowering his head for me. So you can do it this way, or you can also do it. You can take in your right hand, you can take the bridle like so. Put your capstan around that, and then you can take on the roots and hold that like so. And then you're going to take the bit. And the worst thing that you can do is just shove a bit in the horse's mouth against his teeth. Think about how you'd feel if somebody shoved like a spoon or a fork in your mouth by surprise, and it was a surprise. It would hurt. We're going to just slide that over his ears, both sides, making sure that this part is, we don't want it shoved up against his ear like that because that's uncomfortable. And I'm going to make sure that that's true on the other side as well. That hair out here. Again, this canvas. So this bridle, because I think I mentioned I use the this is how you adjust the capstan. And the capstan should be not too tight. You should be able to get one finger when you buckle the capstan. You should be able to still get a finger under there. So if you buckle this, it will impede the horse's breathing because it's putting pressure right here on this nose bone. And I've actually seen people pull hard enough on this that they broke their horse's nose. So we don't want to do that. Then this is the flash attachment. It goes under like so, and under the horse's chin. You want to make sure that it is. You don't want it to be buckled right here because that's uncomfortable because that's a really soft part of their face. So I prefer to buckle mine up here. And you want to just get it, again, you should be able to fit a finger under there. So put in all the keepers. And let's talk a little bit about the fit of the bit. Bits are sitting in your horse's mouth. They should be at the corner of their mouth right here, but there should not be, if he's not chewing and being silly like I'm being, there should be no wrinkles right here. So this one might be just a little bit tight. No, it's not. There we go. So there should be no wrinkles here. You don't want it pulled up like this. Do you see the wrinkles here? That's too tight, and it's very, very uncomfortable. So you want those to make sure it's fit, and it's also fit this way across his mouth. So a too small bit will have not enough of this sticking out, like it'll be too close to the cheek, and a too large bit will have a lot sticking out this side. So you don't want either one of those. You should have it just comfortably in his mouth like so. Let me put my last keeper in over here. If I can find it. It's gone, maybe. No, there it is. Okay. So, and then the last thing you want to do, this is called the throat latch. and you're going to attach this. And you want, again, you should be able to put about 3 fingers, 2 or 3 fingers underneath that throat latch. And then put the keepers in. Like that. And then the very last thing you can do is undo your horse's halter. Make sure it's not tangled up in the reins in case the horse pulls back, like that is right there. So, I mean, this horse is very, very quiet, so you may have occasion to have one that isn't this quiet, and these safety precautions mean more. But I just hang mine on the fence like that. And then when you're now ready to go ride your horse, you would just slip these reins up over his head like this. Make sure they're not twisting. Now, if you catch your back off just a little bit, you get like just a whole shot of him all tacked up. So now this is your all tacked up horse. You're all ready to go ride. Go off and have a good ride and a good training.